Oliver Pichon Luthier here. And last I showed you was that we took this little fretboard here, and I had cut the bindings for the sides, and which are now glued on. And I put dams in all the little fret slots to make sure that we didn't have any glue leaking into those fret slots. And now we're going to trim the top and the back and the sides to the finished dimensions so that we can then do our inlay on this, because we need to inlay the fretboard if we're going to put any designs in there, usually at the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 10th, 12th, and 15th frets before we put the frets themselves in, because we want a flat surface to work off of. So now we're going to take these down so that they're flush with the fretboard. Now the trick that we had before with the sandpaper and on the block with a piece of paper underneath it to avoid sanding the surfaces isn't going to work on this because it's too narrow of a space. So we're going to use the cabinet scraper instead, which works really well for this. So I'll show you how that works. Cabinet scrapers or card scrapers are wonderful tools, and a lot of people don't use them, but they are fabulous, as I will show you. Okay, so we got the camera pointed down here at my shooting board. I use the shooting board for all kinds of things, and a shooting board is a really important tool that I think people should have. I'm going to clamp this down here on this end first, and then we take our card scraper here. This is the card scraper, and I've got burnished edges on this that are really sharp, and we're going to, now if we go across this just like we did on the body of the instrument, we can take this down without, and we can just feel when we get close to this, and then we'll do the last bit with the sanding block. But for right now, this is going to take these sides down. You can see the shavings that we're getting off of this are just coming off of the edges of the fretboard, because I'm not bending it down so that the center hits the fretboard. I'm keeping it actually flat, so it's only going to take off the high portions of this. Also notice that when I'm running the card scraper across this, I'm not running it square to the fretboard or parallel to the frets, because if it goes a little too deep, I don't want it dipping down into those. So I'm going to keep it at a slight angle so that it will avoid doing that. You probably also noticed that I left the tails on these bindings a little bit long on both sides, and that's because when you're running a card scraper or anything across this, it has a tendency to kind of take more off of that last little bit and dip it down, and I don't want that to change or the integrity of the flatness of our fretboard. So we're almost there already on this. I can feel it when it starts to just barely ride on the whole body of it, and which is there. In that area, there it is. I don't know if you can hear it, but it makes a different sound when you get it to where you want it. So we've got that area taken down to where we want it, and we'll just turn it around and do the other side here. The fretboard is one of the most important parts of the instrument, obviously, because it has to be absolutely accurate where the frets are located, and it needs to be flat and true to avoid buzzes and other problems with intonation. You can see here when I get to the end why I really want to make sure that I have these little extra pieces on there so that I don't go dipping off and rounding that end. There it is. Just light pressure, not anything heavy. There. So that looks really nice. And it's pretty much just glass smooth there. And we've taken off those shavings. So now we can do the back of it. There are quite a few videos online about how to sharpen a card scraper, and they're a little tricky if you're not used to them, but they are a very important part of this, obviously. Okay, that's right where we want it. And put it down. I'm not taking it completely. I can feel just the slightest little edge on that still, but I don't want to take it down past that where I could take away the flatness. So we'll do that with a sanding block, which will just take a second to do later. There we go. There. So we'll take our sanding block here and we just go gently here. A rule of thumb that I have in working with these instruments is to almost never do any sanding unless you use a sanding block. Otherwise, if you do it just with a piece of hand sandpaper, your fingers are going to create areas where it's going to dig in more, be more of an issue. But this is, you can see how beautiful this is coming out. Just takes a few passes with that 100 grit paper to take it right down to where you want it. There it is. On that side. perfect. This is a pretty little fretboard. I like that Crelicum ebony. I like the difference in the colors in it. Okay. Right there. All right, that's got it. So now it's just a matter of planing down the edges to their finished size, and I've cut them on the bandsaw a little bit, so they're a little bit rough. But now we'll mark those off, and then we'll go from there. So I guess you might want to see that. So I'm going to gotta damp down my fire a little bit. It's really cooking. And so now, here we go. Okay, so now we're going to take this and we know that we're going to be 11/16 or 22/32 from the center there. And I know that it's going to be 19/32 on either side of my 0 to the that maple purfling there. So I'm going to put a mark right here, and that's going to be right at 22 right there. And here's 22 on that side. And then we go down to the 14th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, which is here. That's the 14th. 15, 16, 17, 18. That's, we know we have 18 frets on this. And at this we should be 25 to the, which we are exactly, to the maple, and then we go out to 28 on either side, which is right there, 28. Obviously I couldn't mark this before because we took it down, so we're going to put a straight edge on here. This is an old straight edge that I inherited from my dad, and it's quite an amazing ruler because it's 2 feet long, and on one side it has 32nds and 64ths, and on the other side it has 16ths and hundredths. It's actually marked off in hundredths of an inch on one side, which is really quite remarkable. I don't think I've ever seen a ruler that has had that before. And my dad had it most of his life, and then I have it now, so this ruler is probably well over 100 years old. There we go. So we've marked where we want to plane it to, and we'll take it over to the shooting board. I recommend that everybody who does any kind of work like this use a shooting board. I think shooting boards are essential. I just like having this little block here because it keeps our piece from me having to hold it so tight so it doesn't skid over. the nice thing about the shooting board is that the side of the plane is square to the sole, and so that means that if I put it down on if I slide it like this, it's going to give me a square edge here. And it's also, I just slide it back and forth. I use a little bit of paraffin on this part to make sure that it slides nice and easy. So you can hear that it's just taking off high spots right now. There we go. We want to make sure that we're not getting any tear out when we do this, because that's going to be hard to clean up later, and it looks really good. So no problems with tear out. Okay. A little more of that. I'm sure you can see why a lot of manufactured instruments don't put bindings on their fretboards. And you know, the reason's pretty obvious. It takes a lot of time. You can see how pretty that's coming out there on that edge, and that's looking really, really good. So now I'm going to do this other side. I wonder if we can get away with doing it like this. Let's see, because of the green on the ebony, we'll see. It's helpful to be able to see your pencil line. Okay. I'm not seeing the tear out. Okay, nice sharp plane really helps. Okay, that's looking pretty darn good. Okay. Side is good. Looks really good. Okay, so we'll check it now with our measurements. Make sure we're where we need to be. One thing is, when you set your plane down, I see a lot of people setting their planes down like this. I never do. I always lay my planes on my side. Even when I'm storing them in the shelf there, I have them on their side. And the reason why is I want this blade not to be sitting on stuff that could make it dull. So I always lay them on my side, on their sides like that when they're sleeping on their shelf. So let's see if we have. Okay, we're right at 22 overall there, and at the 14th here, we are right at 28. So this is perfect. Where we have this is right where we want it. And so this is, we've got the sides trimmed. Now all we have to do is cut this piece here, finish that off, and we'll trim these end pieces, and then it'll be ready for inlay. So I'll do that, and then the next video will be showing how we do the inlay. Thank you for watching. If this has been helpful to you, give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.